we talked about the conventional loan.
Yeah.
Uh, Previously, up until when thereabouts, was it just 620?
It was just 620 was a hard cutoff on conventional loans. And that was towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, that had changed. Just guidelines are constantly being reviewed. I do think that the market as a whole has shifted. You know, all of us went through COVID, and a lot of us were impacted more heavily than others. Whether and more often than not, that was like financial strain, right? Work people lost their jobs or had reduced hours, reduced pay, less commissions. If you're in a sales position, whatever it is, and so everyone moved to credit. So we maxed out credit cards and took out personal loans and everything else as a stopgap, and we're still seeing the impacts of that in the market today. And so that has just naturally driven the average credit score of any given borrower down. And the market in general that's applying right now for a mortgage is in that 600, 500, 600 range, right? There still are all these other borrowers out there that have 700s or 800 credit scores, but they're hiding under 2-3% rates, and they're not interested in coming out of that unless they move into a more difficult financial position where they're forced to give that rate up. Right. That's going to be, high debt load, divorces, those types of things is going to push them to say, I'm going to have to give up this rate because of the financial situation I am. And that typically comes with a lower credit score. So, with going through this the last few years, the agencies have recognized some of that and where these borrowers are at. And in order to, be able to have more opportunity for different loan products, they've stripped away some of the requirements, one of which being unconventional, a 620 credit score. So now they're letting their system, their automated underwriting system that we run every loan through, they're letting that make the determination on the risk factors based on your individual profile. So they're considering your income, your assets, and your credit, and putting all of that together and then saying, is this something that is beneficial for the borrower that we can approve on, or are you at 60% debt to income ratio, which is above their, what their cap is. And this getting you into this loan isn't going to improve your credit standing. So they're going to deny it unless we can find a way to have you meet their metrics.
So there's not a hard and fast number like 590 or whatever that we're looking at.
Every lender is going to be a little bit different. Currently, we're lending as low as 490, and that's just some of the restrictions that we have with, like, warehouse lines and other stuff that we're dealing with. So I mean, that's what we are. But as like an industry standard, it's just kind of up in the air. Now, there are some things that are difficult right now. Like, for instance, if you're over 80% on a purchase transaction or, a rate term refinance, and you have below a 600 credit score, the mortgage insurance companies are having a difficult time keeping up with the change in guidelines and how that's going to impact their pricing. So like there could be some roadblocks along the way right now because this is relatively new, industry wide. So we're all kind of working through it. And, if you're not at a 490 right now, I mean, we've got borrowers who've applied that are at a 460 or a 430, and because of, one thing or another. And I don't tie that against the borrower to say, oh, well, you're bad. Like, you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking care of your finances, because I don't know their situation. Right. None of us do. And we don't want to hold that number against them. We want to say that as an industry, we have to improve your score to a point where we can lend against it. So let us, regardless of what happened, let us help you get to at least 500. And I mean, right now, as a pipeline as a whole, 55% of our pipeline is below a 600. So the borrowers we're serving, over half of them are in that 500 credit score range. So we are very comfortable in this and working with credit challenged borrowers.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's life changing for people to be able to do that.